BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello, I'm Phil Goodlad and this is the Scottish Football Podcast. It's Tuesday the 11th of March and I have all the news, the views and analysis you need from our beautiful game. And the Scottish Cup semi-final draw, well, it's complete.
Keary with a shot! Oh, wonder goal from Graham Keary! 35 yards out!
An incredible strike from Graham Kerr takes St Johnstone through. It's Scotland's squad announcement time, and there's some exciting names missing.
Dykes gives chase, he gets there! Goal! Lyndon Dykes scores! Leeds salvation in Oslo!
So just who is Steve Clarke going to plump for in his squad to face Greece? And the Championship throws up another intriguing encounter tonight.
Partick Thistle scored. Of course, it had to be the captain, it had to be the interim manager, Brian Graham.
Oh, it's 3-0! What a goal that is! This time it's Adam Montgomery. Wraith Rovers 0, Queen's Park 3. Wow!
The race for the playoffs hots up as Queen's Park face Partick Thistle.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Great to have you along this morning. Great also to have your thoughts on how you would describe Graham Kerry's wonder goal last night. The paper's having a field day this morning. Bolt from the blue, wonder goal, wonder strike, simply magic. Two men who will be able to describe it much better than the Nation's editors this morning. Daniel Caw, sports writer for the Daily Record. Danny, morning to you.
Morning, guys.
I can't remember how your boss described it this morning. I think he went just for a boring old wonder strike.
To be honest, Phil, I would keep it nice and simple. An absolute belter.
Yeah, absolute belter. Yeah, I'm all up for that. Cammy Kerr, Queen's Park defender. I'm sure you would have scored many had you not been injured and out long term. Have you ever banged one in from 30 yards in the top corner?
I'd say, yeah, I have. It was with my left foot, but it was just a swing and hope, I think, at the time. So got lucky with that one.
Are you saying that Graham Kerry swung and hope last night?
No, he certainly didn't. He scored many a good goal better than me. So no, it was an incredible strike and one I could probably only dream of scoring.
Yeah, and let's be honest, and I don't want to take this down the tired old sort of debate about plastic pitches in Scottish football, but last night just looked filthy for football. Just looked, I don't know whether it was drizzle on the actual camera lines or whether it just looked that cold and that miserable in Amon Vale. We needed something like that, Danny, did we not, to warm us all up?
No, you're spot on, and I know it's something we've talked about a lot in Scottish football over the last few years, but obviously it wasn't a classic, but it just feels a little bit worse with that pitch, if you know what I mean. And I hate kind of singling out Livy at times for it, but Livy's pitch is terrible. It is really, really poor.
Do you know what though? And I appreciate that, and I'm going to hold fast on my I don't want to go down the pitch debate. But there was something almost romantic last night about the game, given that it were in those conditions against two teams who are struggling for sort of form on the pitch. It almost just had everything, especially that first half, because at half-time I was thinking, how is Livingston not 2 or 3-0 up?
No, I agree, and I said off air, just before you arrived, Phil, there, that I could see it being the relegation playoff game. There's something about it. I think those two teams are going to get to know each other pretty well before the end of the season.
Yeah. Cammy, you obviously know Livingston very well this season, having come up against them with Queen's Park. Is what we saw last night what you dread going to Livingston? That sort of that roll the sleeves up, pitch battle, bad conditions, no inch given. How many more cliches can I get out of this?
Yeah, no, Phil, you're spot on. Honestly, I've played there on obviously numerous occasions in the past with Dundee, and we've played there this season with Queens, and that is what you've got to prepare yourself for when you go there. It's not, looking at it, downplaying it or whatever. It's literally just the way it is when you go there. You've got to understand the conditions of the AstroTurf, which is, people that play will understand that every Astro you play on is completely different. And this, no disrespect to Livingston's pitch, it's probably one of the ones that are, worn out a lot. And the conditions again last night didn't help. But it's one of these things. I think there's plenty of other venues you go to in Scotland that are similar to Livy. But no, certainly more than aware of certainly how hard it is to go to Livingston.
Now, listen, I know that the bosses at Hampden will have you signing non-disclosure agreements, and you're not allowed to take us inside what really goes on in the Queen's Park dressing room. But have you ever seen Callum Davidson celebrate as much as Simo Valakari did last night at full-time?
Well, maybe after the Rangers game the other week. But no, look, I love when managers show emotion. It's great. I think it's something that, because of what you say, you have to watch what you say more and more now. Managers and players probably don't get to show exactly how they feel, so it's always good to see that side of it. And it's I'd probably be that way as well if I managed as well.
Yeah, and Danny, it was almost nice to see Simo Valakari celebrate like you and I would, because with those earrings and with his cultured presence, I just thought that he was a cut above us all. But actually, it just shows that the Scottish Cup means as much to him as it probably does the rest of us.
Oh no, definitely. I know it's a horrible cliche, but he's been such a breath of fresh air, really, between the kind of honesty that he has and also the attacking football. I think he's been brilliant, and
Yeah.
I think St Johnstone are going to struggle between now and the end of the season to stay up, but fingers crossed for them.
Well, that's interesting. Lead us down that route, because St Johnstone now into the last four. They'll take on Celtic next month at Hampden. Does this give them a lift in their battle against relegation, do you think, Danny? Or is this something that actually gets in the way?
I'm going to shock you here, guys, right? I've never actually played in the Scottish Premiership, right? But Cammy might be able to chip in. I personally think the momentum, the feeling of winning that game last night can only help St Johnstone, surely.
Come on, Cammy. Bring us home on this one.
No, do you know what? I'm trying to think of it, in a neutral way, I suppose, and stuff like that. I honestly think it can swing either way. It depends how people like the manager portray it to the players and the staff. I think obviously it can go, one way where you do maybe take your eye off the ball. You're too worried about the semi-final. You're worried, I don't know, even wee things, worried about getting your suit done take your eye off what's really the important stuff of staying in the division, which I think, I don't know, maybe St Johnstone fans would rather another cup, but I'd probably prefer, if I was looking from their point of view, them to stay up first and foremost. And they're not far away. I think it's 3 points. It's the difference. So it's not as if it's 9 points or whatever, like it was only 2-3 weeks ago. They've clawed it back extremely quick.
Cammy, be honest. If you had the chance of lifting the cup at Hampden at the end of the season, at the expense of being relegated, would you take it?
Do you know what? I've been asked this question numerous times. Do you know what? Obviously, especially with Dundee not winning the cup for a long time, or looking at that, if I was obviously in the Premiership, yeah, you probably would. But
of course you would. What's wrong with you, man? Get off the fence.
No, the relegation's not a good thing to have. It's the amount of implications it has isn't great, but that's me trying to probably act sensible on it. Yeah, you'd want to win the cup, wouldn't you? Of course you would. But
You imagine Liam MacLeod in years to come, and the audio from your day out at Hampden, and Cammy Kerr climbs the stairs to lift the cup for Dundee or for Queen's Park or whatever. Putting aside the disappointment of being relegated last week, he is now a Scottish Cup winner. I mean, come on, you'd take that.
Yeah, you would.
Of course
you would for a day out at Hampden, eh? You definitely would.
Danny, speak about the last four draw. St Johnstone probably getting the hot potato that everybody wanted to avoid in Celtic. But, they've done it before in cup competitions where they've gone up against big teams and knocked them over on the way to winning the cup. Do you think at this stage it really matters who you've got?
Well, I think if you were St Johnstone, as you say, Phil, they really didn't want that draw last night. Brendan Rodgers, 20 games in the Scottish Cup Brendan Rodgers had, and he's won them all.
Yeah.
I know it's Celtic, I know they're the strongest and richest team in the country, but even so, that's still remarkable. That is utterly ridiculous record. So, look, Celtic, massive favourites. The other semi-final, I think, is the intriguing one. I said a couple of rounds ago when Aberdeen were really struggling, it would just be peak Scottish football if Aberdeen's season ended winning their first Scottish Cup since what, 1990?
1990, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. There's something about that. Just I could see maybe happening.
Hit us with another cliche 9 minutes in. You're going to say that it's the magic of the cup.
It's the magic of the cup. Aye, no, look, who knows? But I don't know. There's something about that. I could just, as I say, it'd be the perfect storyline to end the season, I think.
And just a word, Danny, while I have you, Cammy, I won't ask you to comment because, you know, as a Queen's Park player, you might get into bother with criticising the SFA or officials. But David Livingston at the end of last night, Danny, said that the referee at halftime apologised for that first half penalty that wasn't awarded to Livingston. Is it too journalistically lazy to say that was the big turning point in the game? Had Livingston gone ahead with a penalty, they would have gone on to win it?
No, I was actually thinking that before you said it there. I mean, games that are so tight like that can be the difference. Although I think it is. I mean, probably wouldn't have been much compensation at the time, but I think it's good to hear the referee kind of own up and say, look, I got that one wrong.
Yeah. Cammy, in a word, who wins the Scottish Cup this season?
Celtic.
Danny?
Do you know what? I'm going to go with Celtic. I was going to go Aberdeen there, but I bottled out there.
Producer, if you're listening, he's a massive St Johnstone fan. You'll probably find that you'll be cut off very shortly. At lunchtime today, Scotland boss Steve Clarke will name his squad for the upcoming Nations League ties with Greece. Danny, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to let you into a secret that's already open-ended as far as sort of the national side is concerned. Up until this week, I had completely forgot that we had a playoff coming up, a doubleheader against Greece. And I almost just assumed that the Nations League was rolling around again. And then I was like, no, hold on. The World Cup is next year, so we've got World Cup. Oh, yeah, we do have a playoff to stay in pot, eh?
There's so many games now. It's just insane at times. And the thing is, Greece, it's one of those weird ones. If you don't follow international football too closely, you never quite know. Are Greece good at the minute? Are they half decent? And it turns out they are pretty good. They are pretty good at the minute. So I think it's going to be a really tough couple of games. But look, we're not bad at the minute either. So, you know, confident.
I wonder, Cammy, you can speak as somebody who is also frustratingly sitting on the sidelines with a long-term injury, but we seem to be missing so many players, you know, Ben Doak, Aaron Hickey, Lyndon Dykes. This almost becomes the squad that we can't pick from.
Yeah, and you go back to probably the main reason that you just mentioned there, Daniel, is the amount of games that players have is ridiculous. Like, even the top players probably 15, 20 years ago, when you're looking, top Premiership players are probably playing 40 games, 45 max a season.
On that, Cammy, I read the other day that Carlo Ancelotti was saying that Jude Bellingham's played 260 games now, and at the same age...
This season? God,
no, at the same age, David Beckham had played 54.
That's what I mean. It's incredible. And you think as well, like, all these guys, like, I know that obviously the top players that are playing international, they're playing Champions League on a Tuesday, so they're travelling probably on a Monday, training on a Monday as well, travelling, staying in a hotel that's foreign to them in terms of not their own bed. I know that sounds ridiculous, but they're then staying in some place that they're not used to. They're travelling back on late Tuesday night, sorry. They're playing internationals. It's constant. And it must, as you say, 60 plus games a season for these boys. And, you know, it's obviously going to take its toll on the body, definitely. And that's how I think, honestly, that all the kind of injuries that you get, there's so many injuries now that go on. Everywhere you look, there's teams with 8, 9, 10 plus players out constantly. And I think that is genuinely down just to the heavy schedule.
There is, of course, though, the flip side to this, and I can hear almost the words of Alan Hansen at Liverpool and David Nerey at Dundee United back in the 80s, because they spoke about playing over 60 games in those seasons when United and Liverpool were doing well, both domestically and in Europe. And, of course, it was much smaller squads. So I guess this is something that national teams and club sides have almost had to perfect over the years. I think the one thing, though, Cammy, that you touch on, which is true, is I think there is a better understanding now amongst fans of just how much goes into the travelling and the overnight stays and the organising. You know, before, to guys like me and Danny, the idea of flying private plane or first class to go to somewhere exotic in Europe and stay in a 5-star hotel for a couple of nights and then fly back. Happy days. But of course, when you're doing that, travelling Tuesday to play Wednesday, to come back Thursday, to then play Sunday, and you're doing it repeat, that has to take its toll.
Yeah, it does, and I think there's other factors that go into that, as you say, a lot of people do not understand, like it's being away from family for days on end. But as you say, on the flip side, I'm trying to be quite reasonable in which I say, like the sports science stuff and all the stuff that goes into helping these players has improved dramatically from when it was in you say the 80s. You've got all the recovery methods, all the top food chefs, nutritionists, they'll travel the country and the land with them to make sure it gives them the best opportunity to be ready come a game.
Danny, speak to us about the American-born keeper Chris Brady and also George Hurst. I mean, I'm of an age where I remember his old man David banging them in for Sheffield Wednesday, and he was quite a player in the early 90s. Are these two players of Scotland, can call them up into the squad, are these two players that would add something to the national side?
Look, why not? I mean, in terms of Brady, I mean, again, I haven't seen much of him in action. George Hurst, I've seen him play a couple of times. Look, he's got 3 goals this season for Ipswich Town in the Premier League in all competitions. But I think, crucially, he scored his most recent goal against Nottingham Forest when Steve Clarke was in the stands. And I think that could be really important. But yeah, I mean, look, why not? You can only trust Steve Clarke's judgment at this point, I think. So,
is there not a striker hiding in plain sight a bit closer to home from Hampden, which is Kevin Nisbet up at Aberdeen, who seems to have found a wee bit of form in the last few games?
Yeah, no, he's looked kind of back to his old self, Kevin Nisbet, and that was always a transfer that looked like it had potential to do really well. I'll go one further, Phil, right? And I've actually said this on this show before, but I'm still stunned that an ex-teammate of Cammy's hasn't had a look in Simon Murray. 23 goals last season, he's got 17 again this season. Dundee are having a pretty poor run at the minute. It's not like they're a fantastic team creating lots of chances. I don't know. I just think it's incredibly harsh. He's never even been in a squad.
Cammy, enlighten us.
No, I get what you mean. In terms of the goal scoring, his record, as you say, even last season with Ross County, I think it was 23, 25 maybe he scored. No, look, why not? I guess with his goal scoring, stats this season, again, you could say he can be in there. Sai, I think his main thing is his work rate and his attitude when he's on the pitch. I don't know if that's overlooked by managers, which as somebody, if I was looking at it, I wouldn't overlook that. But maybe by some people it gets overlooked, and maybe because, as you say, Dundee or Ross County the last 2 seasons have been struggling. I don't know. But as you say, his goal scoring speaks for himself, and he's a top player and an even better guy, which helps.
Just a quick one finally. Will we see a name finally called into the top squad, Lennon Miller?
Well, personally, I hope so. I really do. I mean, I get the argument that, he'll go to the under-21s or even the under-19s, I guess, and play games and get minutes under his belt. But look, you look at other top European nations, if they've got a star player at that age, they get him in the top team. They get him in learning with the guys that are playing in the Premier League, the guys that are doing it at the top. And I think that can only be a good thing. I mean, it's surely been in a squad with the guys like Billy Gilmore, McTominay playing in Serie A, as I say, players in the Premier League. That can only be a good thing for Lennon Miller. And I'm not convinced he would get much time in the pitch, but as I say, I think that would help his development just being in the squad.
Finally, 7th, host 4th in the Championship tonight, Queen's Park taking on Partick Thistle. Cammy, over to you. Bring us inside the corridors at Queen's Park and what it's been like over the last 2 or 3 days after the Cup defeat at Pittodrie.
Yeah, obviously a lot of disappointment. I was up at the game at Pittodrie and felt it was a game that, suddenly after the Rangers game, the kind of mindset shifts from everyone on the outside that, can they do it again? But yeah, look, massive disappointment. I think not we let ourselves down, but we lost 2 quick goals, which I think really changed the momentum of the game. Really swung in Aberdeen's favour, who, to be honest, after the first 25 weren't playing too well, but they got their 2 goals, and that gives them a foothold in the game. But in terms of the mindset going into tonight, everyone's in a good place again. You've got to turn quickly ahead of tonight. I think the importance of the game is massive. I'm not particularly a fan of people underplaying, the importance of games. Oh, it's just another game. No, it's a big game. It's a really big game. If we can win it, it puts us right in there and creates a wee gap between the lower teams. I know it'll be an extra game we've played, but then it puts the pressure on to others. So look, no, the boys are ready to go. We've got a couple of injuries that we're probably waiting on to see if they can go ahead tonight. But that gives other boys an opportunity as well, that have maybe been itching to get a game.
Yeah, win tonight, you're only 2 points off Partick Thistle in 4th place. And as far, Cammy, as well about Queen's Park this season, I mean, obviously so much focus, and quite rightly so, on that brilliant day at Ibrox. Is it difficult to get back to almost the bread and butter of the league and the challenge to try and get amongst the promotion spots when you've had the magic of the cup?
Again, I've been probably on the periphery a wee bit in the last wee while, just with being injured, which again has been something new to me. But if I was in there probably playing, no, it wouldn't be hard. You understand the fixture list. You understand that, you expect. It sounds a funny thing, but you go into the Rangers game, you expect to win because you want to win. You don't go in there, nobody goes in there going, oh, we're playing Rangers, we're beat. So you almost expect that you can get something from it. So then you tick that one off and you move on. That's certainly the way I look at it, and I know that's the way the staff and the players look at it. The league is, of the most importance to us. I think we understand how tight the league is and just how many teams, can get in those playoffs, and we need to be aiming for that. I don't want to just have, that Queen's Park have had a decent season. They've done well in the cups and made the SPFL Trust Trophy final. I want to be at the end of the season, Queen's Park have made the playoff final and got up or made a story again, and that has to be the way that everyone thinks.
It's such a beer pit, that championship. There's so many really good teams, and I still think it's criminal that only one team goes up, but that's probably a conversation for another day.
Danny, just quickly, because we're running out of time, but word from Partick Thistle that they may be about to appoint a sporting director, that they'd be on the lookout. That's quite a far-reaching move for a team that's been in the championship for so many seasons.
No, it is. But again, I kind of applaud the ambition. And, it can only be a good thing, can't it? Yeah, no, I definitely think it's a step in the right direction.
Daniel Call, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, sports writer for the Daily Record. Cammy Kerr, Queen's Park defender. How is the injury, Cammy, quickly?
Yeah, good. I'm 4 weeks post-operation, so I'm back in my recovery, and I don't think I'll be too far away until I'm back. So hopefully in the next 2 to 4 weeks.
So you could have climbed the stairs to lift the cup at Queen's Park.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, well, yeah. If it's a promotion cup, well, you don't even get one of them now, do you? So,
but you've already told us that promotion doesn't matter. You'd much rather have the Scottish Cup. We all agree with you. We'll leave it there. Cammy Kerr, Danny Caw, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Remember, we're here, new episodes of the Scottish Football Podcast, bright and early every day. 2 ways you can do it. The old-fashioned way, click on BBC Sounds and hey presto, you get it. But also click on notifications, follow the podcast, hey presto, when it drops, it's in your feed and you'll be able to listen to it then. For now, I'm Phil Goodlad. Enjoy our beautiful game and go and watch Graham Carey's goal again. We'll speak again soon.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.